Alright folks, so today I'm going to show you how to make chocolate chip cookies, or shall I say chocolate chunk cookies, as I'm using an actual chocolate bar rather than chocolate chips. Anyway, if you are getting started into baking or just fancy making some cookies, the good news is that there are not too many ingredients and it doesn't take too long to make, and the results are really rewarding. So ingredients wise, we're going to need 2 eggs, room temperature if possible. We're also going to add some sugar, 1/3 of a cup of white granulated sugar, and we're also going to add some brown sugar, 3/4 of a cup, which will give the cookie a bit more chewier texture. We're also going to add some vanilla extract, 2 teaspoons to be exact. And actually looking at it, it kind of looks like whiskey, but I assure you it's vanilla extract. Now onto the dry ingredients, we're going to need 1 cup of all-purpose or plain flour. In my attempt to make things a little healthier, I'm adding 1/2 cup of oat flour, which is just oats blended. If you don't have any oats, feel free to substitute this with plain flour. We're also going to throw in some baking powder as well, 1/2 teaspoon, and also 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. As an optional extra, I'm adding cinnamon as well, which is just 1/2 teaspoon should be enough. And now for the chocolate, I'm using 70% dark. I'm a huge dark chocolate fan, but this is a part where you can add whatever type of chocolate you like. Whatever you fancy, just get the good stuff, as it really does make a difference. Now with the bar, we're going to have to break it up into rough, sizable chunks, not too big, not too small. You don't have to be perfect, just get them into small chunks. So let's set the chocolate aside and we'll use that later. Oh, and almost forgot, we're going to need some butter. About 1/2 cup of unsalted butter should be enough. Now the first thing we need to do is melt the butter. If you have a microwave, feel free to use that. We're just heating on the hob here. And when it starts to bubble like this, it's a good time to take it off the heat and let it cool. Whilst the butter is cooling, we'll start by combining the dry ingredients. We'll add the flour first, then the oats, baking powder as well, and the salt. We'll use a small whisk and give those ingredients a little whisk. Oh, and the cinnamon goes in as well, almost forgot that, and give that another mix as well. So let's set aside the dry ingredients and move on to the wet ingredients. We'll add the brown and white sugar, and I just want to use a whisk to make sure there are no large lumps of brown sugar. I can use a hand whisk, but I've actually got one of these electric ones to make life a little bit easier. Oh, and top tip, throw in a towel at the bottom of the bowl to prevent it from slipping. So we'll give the sugar a good old beating, and when the brown sugar bits are broken down, we'll start to add the cooled down butter slowly. We'll continue to give that a mix, and then we'll crack 2 eggs. Now I've seen recipes add 1 egg and 1 egg yolk. To be honest, I'm just a bit lazy as I don't know what to do with the extra white parts, so I'm just throwing in both eggs. Once that's all mixed in, we'll start to add in the vanilla extract. Once all the ingredients are incorporated and you start to get a creamy mixture, it's a good time to add the dry ingredients. Just be careful here, try to add the dry ingredients in batches. I'm doing it in 3 batches. It makes it a little easier to mix as well. When all the flour is mixed in and you get an even thicker, creamier mixture, you can start to add the chocolate chunks we chopped up earlier. And we can just use a spatula or wooden spoon here to mix in the chocolate. Once the chocolate is mixed in, it's time to put it in the fridge to chill. Anywhere from 20-30 minutes is good enough. Yeah, so I left mine for 24 hours. Dough mixture might be a little bit tough, but that's a good sign. I'm using an ice cream scoop to scoop it out. Now if the dough is a bit too tough, feel free to leave it out at room temperature for 5 or 10 minutes or so. Now is a good time to preheat the oven at 180 degrees Celsius or 355 degrees Fahrenheit. As you can see, I have a baking tray lined with some baking paper or parchment paper so the cookies don't stick to the baking tray. Now each cookie board doesn't have to be a perfect board, just try to make each one of equal size so they cook evenly. And be sure to give each cookie some dough some space so they don't stick together. Now it's time to put them in the preheated oven. After all that hard work, you should be rewarded with some gorgeous looking and smelling cookies. Now depending how you like them, I like them a little soft in the center, but if you like them a bit crunchier, feel free to put them in the oven for a bit longer. The last thing to do is take them off the baking tray onto a cooling rack. You can enjoy them hot or cold, whichever you prefer. I just want to say thanks for watching and see you in the next one.